Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Legion Wired. What we're going to be talking about is, here we go again. Jen Psaki is attacking the former president again because why not? This is just, at this point, it's obviously this is inside with Jen Psaki, and then of course this is her hand. Quote, it is clear that Trump is not going to end this assault on the rule of law anytime soon. No, it's called an appeal. It's called an appeal. It's baked right into our justice system. Everybody has the right to appeal. Everyone. That's a warning sign that none of us should ignore. Oh God, she sucks. God, she sucks. This lady is the worst. Quite frankly, I don't even want to. Oh no, that's the wrong one. I don't even want to give her the time of day. She sucks. It's called an appeal. Every American gets it. Ugh, here we go.
On Thursday evening, a jury of 12 everyday Americans delivered a verdict finding the former president guilty on.
It's actually called a jury of your peers. That's literally what it's called, a jury of your peers. Ugh. Stop trying to like make it into something it's not. It's a jury of your peers.
On 34 counts. And yes, that was historic, no question about it.
There got to be a lot of makeup going on there because, quite frankly, when she left the White House, she looked ragged. She looks prettier. I mean, which is nice. If she didn't have the soul of a bridge troll.
Given that no former president has ever been criminally tried, let alone convicted. But it was also important because it confirmed that our legal system has the capacity to hold any American accountable, no matter who they are.
And that's the point, ladies and gentlemen. If you have the wrong opinion, you can be held to account no matter who you are. It's not like that we let hey, remember when in New York when they let those loser illegal immigrant kids, yes, they're illegal immigrant kids, beat up police officers and walk out the courthouse the same day, and they're like and they're flipping off the cameras. But a former president, you got to get him. I mean, Trump didn't beat up cops. This is so terrible.
And
I'm just saying, if this is where you want to be, America, and I know that a vast majority of us don't, but there are people who think that that um that skirting the line or just drop kicking the line in the chin and breaking its jaw is justified so this man doesn't get back in office because quite frankly they hate you and they think that you're a bad person.
well, it's proof that the legal system functions as it should. It also, over the last few days, exposed just how broken the Republican Party is right now.
Really, because I remember that 34 34 counts felony convictions. It's not every single it has to be 34 different crimes. It can't be the same crime done 34 times. That doesn't work. It's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. You can commit business fraud, yes. And they're like, "Oh, well, we found this, and then we found this, and we found this, and we found this." That's not 4 counts. That is 1 count of business fraud that was discovered by the investigators. 1 count, not 4 counts, 1 count. That's the way the justice system works. Now, if we found out that, quite frankly, let's say hypothetically this, you had you had 1 count of business fraud, 4 separate occasions, but one of those counts was let's say hypothetically business fraud, you fraudulently failed to report I don't know, let's say $100,000. That's a very large sum. That would be a different count of a type of defrauding, right? Because you failed to report profits for that. So it goes into and look, I'm not going to dive too far into this because quite frankly, people's eyes might glaze over. But no, you don't. It's not 30. It's not 34 counts. It should be one count. Also, not a felony. What would make it a felony is that if if your one of your accountants, let's say like have like a junior accountant found, they're like going, oh well, these records look weird, sir. I think there's an error. He'd be like, oh, there's no error. No, sir. I want you to look at these numbers. I think there's an error that we failed to report. Like going, there's no error, and if you say something about it, there's probably going to be a bigger error for you. That would be intimidation. That would be intimidation. That would be threats. That would make it a felony. Boom. That's not what happened. Hey, let's be nice. My apologies. Animals are being animals. We have a new guest, Susie. She's an awesome dog, but Piper, who's the eldest in the house, he's a cat, and he's like, "Hey, bro." He's like, "I'll f you up." Uh, anyway, so that being said, let's finish this.
I mean, in the aftermath of Donald Trump's conviction, the majority of his party have lined up behind him in attacking the judicial system and all of its players. Take Republicans.
Oh, I'm sorry. You mean the fact that business defrauding has a statute of limitations, and the fact that it happened 7 to 8 years ago is well past the fact? Yeah, that would almost actually suggest that you can't charge him with that. Ugh. Laws in this country have statutes of limitation. After a certain point, you could walk down Main Street saying, "I did this, I did this." You can go pound sand, and everybody be like going, "Oh, that's really heinous. Like, I can't believe you did that." And like the local sheriff or the police, they'd like listen to that. They could try to haul you in and maybe try to find and open an investigation into something else. But if you're saying I committed business fraud and it was 10 years ago, and everybody's gonna go, all right, I don't know, you can't do nothing about that.
Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson, a guy, by the way, who's second in line for the presidency. He not only called the verdict absurd, he says his friends on the Supreme Court should overturn Trump's conviction.
I don't think his friends on the Supreme Court. I just think he says the Supreme Court. That's what the Supreme Court is for. Like it's really not that hard. It's not that hard. It's municipal, state, it's federal, and then of course it goes to Supreme. So basically, let's say hypothetically you get convicted of murder. And you're like you're trying to appeal it, it gets turned down. You can take it to your state representative, you can take it up to a higher federal court, and if they keep kicking it up, eventually you can get to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will rule. Um, and quite frankly, it's how the system works. This isn't hard. It's not that like going, my besties in the Supreme Court, Jen Psaki. Like, what's with that jacket too, by the way? Why you look so frumpy? Like, what the anyway.
I do believe the Supreme Court should step in. Obviously, this is totally unprecedented, and it's dangerous to our system. I think that the justices on the court, I know many of them personally, I think they're deeply concerned about that as we
He said I know many of them personally. Well, I mean, if you're Speaker of the House, you've probably been around at least a few blocks.
are. So I think they'll set this straight.
Sonia Sotomayor is on the Supreme Court too. She's probably not friends with him, but she probably knows him. She knows who he is. She's a Democrat. He's a Republican. It's the way it works.
So Speaker Mike Johnson is essentially saying there, and I just think this is so important to repeat, I know these guys. They're on our team. They'll, quote, set things straight.
That's not what he said at all. Not even, it didn't even come out of his mouth. What he said, he says, I think the Supreme Court needs to rule on this because it basically it sets a precedent. And he's like going, I know those guys. As in, yes, as Speaker of the House, you should know the justices on the Supreme Court. How hard is this? You know, she probably has a law degree too. She's just an awful human being who has the soul of a bridge troll.
Then there was Congressman Byron Donalds, who had this to say.
What is your reaction?
Oh, going after a black man. Uh-oh. Going back to some of those old Democratic roots there, right? Y'all didn't want to abolish slavery. You know that all the senators to abolish slavery were all Republicans, and there were about half the Democrats said no.
Action tonight. Do you respect what the jurors have had to say in their verdict?
No, I don't, and I think that's part of the jury's fault.
So his hot.
Oh, so we're gonna cut him off at the pass. No, I don't, and I think that's part of the jury's fault. That, and he was gonna explain, but let's just cut him off so he blames. You know, I mean, it is it is a very blue district that his court case was tried in. Now they tried to actually, reconvene for a better, maybe a more neutral court that wasn't in a district that only leaned 5% red. I mean, how's a Republican, anybody, gonna get a fair trial in a 95% blue district? Probably not, especially when Jen Psaki makes this face like she knows she's lying, and she's happy about it because maybe she just a little bit of poo came out and she's like going, "Ooh, give me a lie."
Take you just heard there is that it was the fault of the regular citizens who, by the way, followed their civic duty under the Constitution to participate in a jury.
They're also not impartial because they live in a blue district that's 95% versus 5%. That's like saying that's like going to, let's see, what's the best place? That's like going to South Dakota and trying Hunter Biden for his laptop. Do you think that they would want to try Hunter Biden in South Dakota for his laptop, which leans the majority red? No. Also, at the same time, they haven't tried Hunter Biden for his laptop. We also don't know who's on the Epstein client list. Apparently, Ghislaine Maxwell is guilty of pimping out all these girls. But who's on the list? Where are the convictions? Where are even the charges? But Orange Man bad. Like, do you see the problem, Jen? Do you see the problem? Man, she sucks.
And then there were those who used this as a moment to promise retribution.
How do we work together to protect ourselves from the illegal?
What the fuck is this photo? What the fuck is this photo? Like, really? You're gonna quote the guy for what like when he's got a lazy eye moment? The hell is wrong with you? You guys, ugh.
Prosecutions and from persecutions, and then what do we do to fight back? How do we make them suffer if they're going to illegally prosecute us?
That was none other than Ken Paxton. Yes, you've heard of him for sure. The Attorney General of Texas, suggesting the appropriate response to a legitimate prosecution by a jury is to, quote, make them suffer.
That's not what he said. He's talking about Alvin Bragg, who again campaigned on getting Donald Trump. I'm gonna get him. With many of these others. Good Lord. This is so disingenuous. It's just sad. Like, this is sad. Like, look. Like, here's the comments. Hey, stop. I used to hate Trump. Here's why I stopped. You can literally watch that. Um, you should be getting your subpoena anytime now. You're involved in the botched withdrawal in Afghanistan. Your time is coming. No one's forgetting about our 13 soldiers. Shame on you. Yeah. The definition of gaslighting. Stalin and Hitler did this. Well, you're not wrong. The fascists throw their political opponents in prison and then say it's an assault on the rule of law if you voice opposition. It's true. It's weird. You can say fuck Joe Biden on Twitter as a very large, very, very large Twitter following. And then a few weeks later, the FBI shows up and says, we'd like to talk to you about some of your social media posts. Guess what, Gestapo fuckers? Fuck you. Fuck you. That's right. It's freedom of speech. I'll say whatever the fuck I want. I'm not threatening nobody. I'm not taking away anybody's personal rights. If I want to say fuck Joe Biden, I can say fuck Joe Biden, and you don't get to show up at my house because I'm going to walk through the middle of you with my finger in the air and say fuck you, Gestapo fuckers. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm not big enough to get a knock from the FBI, but if I do, you know I'm gonna film the shit out of that. This video was longer than it should have been because, quite frankly, every other line that Jen Psaki said was a lie. It's so bad. Thank you to the viewers. You guys are the best. And even if you watch this on 2 times speed, I appreciate you.